Hey everyone, this podcast is part of Story Mode, the podcast network of Gamefully Unemployed. You can support us and gain access to other great exclusive podcasts at patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. That's patreon.com/GAMEFULLY unemployed, which is spelled like it sounds.
I've been drinking like caffeinated cakes.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. You can use them to make the shit out of tea, too.
Oh, man, you got one of those? You got a Keurig?
We don't have a name. We don't have a Keurig. We have like a store brand version of one. Yeah. But
it's all gravy, baby.
Yeah, we like never use we just use it to make tea. It's pretty sweet.
That is pretty sweet. Yeah, you're right. It's just a fucking hot water machine.
Yeah, if you press, I think there's a pod and then a grounds button. If you press the grounds button, it's just going to shoot hot water through it. So you just put the mug in there with the tea bag in it.
Nice.
And it'll heat up it'll fill up with hot water.
I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that right after this. I'm also not cutting any of this out.
No, leave it in. Yeah, I'll probably make some tea too. Fuck.
Tea boys.
We tea boys.
Hi everybody.
Hello everyone.
My name is David Bell.
My name is Tom T-Boy Ryman.
And we just watched Top Secret.
It's at an exclamation point. It's Top Secret.
Top Secret. Starring Hidalgo's Omar Sharif.
The Germans are planning something. Time is running out.
Have you found out where Dr. Fremont is being kept?
Here. This is one of our most popular items. It's very good. It's very good. Yeah.
Omar Sharif is totally in this movie.
Yeah. Holy shit, folks. I don't know what day it is. Who can say? We're still in the pandemic. It's a blur. Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
Big thanks to our Patreon, Matt Osborne.
Woo!
For choosing this. Matt Osborne, what did Matt Osborne make us do?
I don't remember, man.
I think Matt Osborne made us do Battle of the Fake Bands, and there was like one left over. And it was like, well, watch Top Secret. It was like, okay, can do. Never seen it before, Tom.
Really?
Yep.
Oh man. Okay.
So this is in a weird little space of time. I looked up the history of this film. David Zucker had just made Airplane.
Yeah, it's Zucker, Abrams, and Zucker.
Yeah. The Zazzes.
Mm-hmm.
They just made Airplane. They were coming off of Airplane, and then they made Police Squad, and it got canceled like 6 episodes later.
It sure did. And it got canceled incredibly quickly.
Yeah. They had this sort of like brewing, and they didn't know what to do. They wanted to make a spy Elvis movie, and so they made this. This is made in between Airplane and The Naked Gun, is the point?
Yes.
And so it's a very weird place in history. It's got Val Kilmer in it.
It sure does, in like his first starring role.
Yeah, it's got Batman and Alfred.
Mm-hmm. And they share a couple of scenes together. Yeah, Michael Goff is all over this fucking movie.
Yeah, Peter Cushing is there for a second.
Peter Cushing is there for a hot second. Yeah,
but mainly Omar Sharif.
Primarily Omar Sharif getting folded into a tiny car cube.
Yeah, doing fucking Zucker gags. Omar Sharif. My God.
Yeah, he's in 3 scenes and they're all sight gags.
Yeah. What a fucking weird. I was, again, looking up behind the scenes. Apparently, when they wrapped, they invited Omar Sharif to a fancy dinner.
Mm-hmm.
He said yes and then didn't show up. And I guess, like, when asked about it, he was like, oh, just, in my culture, you never say no. And so it sure sounds like he ghosted the Zuckers, but whatever.
Yeah, I mean,
He's Omar Sharif.
He's Omar Sharif, yeah.
He's fucking like, Yuri Shivago, for Christ's sakes.
He's the most famous person in this movie at the time it was released.
Yeah. The movie, by the way, does kind of ape Dr. Shivago, at least with the revolutionary ex-boyfriend character. A little bit.
A little bit. I mean, it's also a Blue Lagoon spoof. Like this movie,
It's a lot of things.
this movie spoofs like 38 different movies.
Yeah.
This is another reason why this is kind of a strange place in history. Is this movie was released in 1984, and it's about the resistance trying to fight back against the tyrannical East Germany regime, but it really is just a World War II spy movie.
Yes, with like a surf rock
Right,
character.
but even the music is 60s pop. So everything about this movie is way out of time.
Yeah, and that, I guess, so you've seen this before. Did you grow up with it?
Yeah, we watched it a lot in high school. It was a big movie for me and my friends in high school. Straight up, I don't want to say stole, but I basically stole a gag from this movie in one of the movies I made in high school, and it's just the scene when Chocolate Mousse just reaches towards the edge of the screen and somebody from off screen hands him a Tommy gun. Like I've done that gag in a movie.
Oh yeah, it's a very Zucker gag.
It's a Zucker gag. Yeah, it's the Zucker. I couldn't help but overhear your conversation. Like they've used that in like 3 movies.
Yeah, Zucker is. I mean, without these movies, we wouldn't have, for better or for worse, Family Guy. We wouldn't have, I would say, some jokes in The Simpsons, Futurama. Like they inspired a lot.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of, I would say, animated shows. Like that's sort of where this type of movie has continued, Because unless this is scary movies, we don't really do them that much anymore.
Well, and several of the scary movies were Zucker, weren't they?
Yeah, the scary movies. I don't know. I don't want to call them underrated, but the Wayans killed it in the first 2, and then Zucker took over. I think for the rest.
Definitely for 3. I'm not sure how many after that.
Yeah, and they definitely are lazy. I mean, a lot of these movies, it's just throwing everything at the wall to see what sticks, right?
Yeah, and there's a charm to, because a lot of the jokes are just silly, and I mean that's Zucker. That's the Airplane style of,
right.
Like it's not necessarily that the joke itself is like really funny. Like an example would be where he's the scene in this movie where they're parachuting down. And Val Kilmer parachutes past her, and she's like, "Oh, Nick, wait!" And then he raises back up to her level. It's like stupid shit like that, where it's like that's not hilarious, but it's like it's just everything is just so continuously silly that it's like you're just like laughing good naturedly with the movie just because it's a vibe, really.
Yeah, I would say yes and no. I would say that most of these movies.
Go ahead.
I think the quality of these movies rests on the ratio of how many jokes that make you go, meh, and then how many jokes that make you go, oh, okay, that one got me. Like, that's how they usually work for me. It's like a series of dad jokes, and then one of them makes you go, okay, that was, okay. That was great.
Yeah, I didn't mean that to say that, like, none of the jokes are funny, because lots of them are funny. It's just,
I'm glad we got to this, because having never seen this movie before, this actually feels pre-Airplane in its humor, in that I actually think a lot of it doesn't work. More of it doesn't work than does. That said, when it works, it was fucking great.
Yeah.
It felt the ratio was off. There was more jokes that didn't work than jokes that did.
I feel like this, when you've laid the history of this movie on us at the beginning, I feel like that explains a lot, because this movie, this movie is I like this movie. It's special to me because I grew up with it, but I recognize that it's not as polished as Airplane or Naked Gun. Yeah. And I feel like it has a lot to do with they're coming off of a show that just got canceled. They have no idea what the rest of their careers are going to be like.
Yes.
So this movie is in such a weird. In addition to it being like a transitional movie, it's also, like I mentioned, it being out of time. It's like the movie's kind of confusing. Like I always remember it taking place in World War II, but it doesn't.
No, it is. That's the thing. It's tonally because I think Airplane, very, very specific premise. We're spoofing disaster films of its time. The Naked Gun, okay, it's a detective series. It's like noir, but funny. Even fucking Basketball, it's like, okay, we have a consistent thread here. I think where Zucker tended to veer off in general, because you see it in the scary movies, is when it's just like potpourri, where it's like it's a bunch of things. Like the scary movie films, especially again, the later ones, I feel like there's no like through line where they're like, we wanna spoof this.
It's
and we wanna
just
spoof that.
it's just everything that was in pop culture at the moment they want to like make fun of.
Yes. Like I seem to remember they did War of the Worlds and then the aliens were the Saw puppet, I want to say, or something. It was something like that where it's like, there needs to actually be kind of a consistent thread. It can't just be. And so like, yeah, I think this suffers that same problem, which is like they kind of want to do a lot of things. And so the genre, it's like, this is a surf rock spy romance. Like what's happening here?
Yeah, it's confusing.
And
what you were talking about with those movies and like the super fast and like date movie and epic movie and vampires suck.
Yeah.
That's like the dark side of this genre.
For sure.
It's when it's just to or like Meet the Spartans.
Yeah.
Where it's like the worst impulses of Family Guy, where it's just pointing at a pop culture thing. It's not saying anything about it.
Yeah,
and it's not.
and being
It's just like, hey, here's that thing. Haha. Anyway, let's keep moving. It's
right.
So
yeah,
it's yeah.
There's a certain ratio again, and also references, because you go back and you watch Airplane, and every now and then it's like, oh, I bet that was something from the time.
Mm-hmm.
They're referencing a commercial, or where it's like you can figure it out, but there's enough things that are just silly on their own.
That's just about the genre. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that's Naked Gun and Airplane, do spoof other movies. Like Airplane, there's a Saturday Night Fever scene.
Right.
But
Naked Gun, they do the Untouchables,
Not until the third one, but yeah.
Not until the third one. But even those theme scenes are funny, and then they still do stuff with it's just like little, the end of the first one where the parade goes over the guy. That's fucking funny.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, just dumb shit like that, like a cow with boots.
Yes, the cow is the highlight.
The cow with boots.
And the reason why is, I don't know if I think they knew why it was brilliant, is because the idea is it's two guys and a fake cow, but most of the time it's played by a real cow in boots, and they don't need to do anything. The cow is just funny because the cow looks miserable. The cow's just like stomping around, not really fucking liking any of it. Mm-hmm. And they just sort of edit their voices over this fucking cow.
When they kept having the guy go like, moo.
Yeah.
It's killing me.
Like the stuff that was like, I don't need that, is like when he starts getting his dick sucked from the cow.
Oh, I don't know. I like the other
saying
bit where
that
he's
out
like,
loud is funny, but
yeah, where he's like, why always in such a bloody rush?
Yeah.
It's a stupid ass lion, but
no, it's not that it isn't funny. It's just that I was just like, I don't need that. This is already fucking hilarious.
Yeah, and I mean, yeah, they obviously knew it because they like the cow with boots is in it for a couple of minutes. Like they really let that joke play because it's funny every time it's on screen.
Yeah, a lot of Zucker jokes are. Some of the best ones are when I'm just like, that's funny, and then it keeps going, and it's like, all right. Like I really liked the gag where it shows like the Indiana Jones dotted line of where they're going, and then the dotted line slowly stops at the station, and then you can hear them getting out, and then it's slowly them getting into the car, and the dotted line continues, and then it turns into Pac-Man, and that's where I'm like, that's okay, sure.
Yeah.
But like I like just that simple gag. There were a few gags where I'm like, oh, of course, like it felt like if you were a writer at the time, you would, I don't know, whisper fuck under your breath, Tom.
Yeah.
Where like when they do the little model where he's like, okay, that's where we're gonna do, and it's like a makeshift, like a rock and stuff, and then it slowly evolves into a really nice model.
Yeah, like he's
a
using,
great gag.
He's using a stick, and then it's like rocks and just drawing in the dirt, and then he puts a little miniature cow down. And then it just builds from there into this incredibly elaborate castle miniature.
Like, that's one of those jokes where I'm like, oh, that's like, I feel like obviously this is why I haven't seen it, but it's like a why didn't I think of it joke. Where it's like, oh, of course, that's a great fucking joke.
Yeah, it's just goofy.
Yeah, they do a lot of visual jokes in this too. They do a lot of perspective jokes. The train station, being a train,
the big phone.
Yeah, Peter Cushing and his magnifying glass.
Yeah, and then that scene being entirely in reverse,
which I don't know why that happened.
It was just a gag. It was a fun thing to do,
I guess. That's the stuff where it's like, it was fun. It was more like weird. Like, I wasn't laughing. I was just like, this is fucking creepy.
Right.
Because he's got a big ass eye.
Yeah. Something feels off about it. And it's like partway through, you start to realize it's in reverse. And if you haven't figured it out, there's the shot at the end of the dog walking backwards. And then it's like, oh, because the dog is the only thing that's not in reverse. Right.
They have a lot of gags with the languages, a lot of Yiddish being said, a lot of gibberish as well.
A lot of that the priest was just saying random Latin phrases. A lot of the German, they'll just translate it wrong just for giggles.
Yeah.
And then sometimes they won't. Like when he comes up and says, "Here are your flaming hog sir." Like that's what he's saying.
Yeah, because I mean, it's a troll type movie, and I feel like that sometimes hurts these movies because, like, it really feels less focused.
Yeah,
than a lot of their other films.
It's too tangential. Like there's not enough of a cohesive core premise. Like with something like Airplane or Naked Gun, where it's pretty focused on a specific genre. This is just kind of like you mentioned Family Guy earlier. This is like moving towards kind of the negative criticism that people will level at Family Guy, where it's just like, oh, this is just randomness. Like there's nothing here. It's just everything you thought of, you just threw in here. Right.
And the instinct is okay sometimes. I would say the fucking skeet surfing was brilliant.
Well, the funniest part of that gag to me is when they show the Billboard like Hot 100, and he's like the top 4 songs, and all of them reference skeet shooting in some way.
Oh yeah. See, that's a great fucking button on that.
One of them is like a duet with Tammy Wynette.
Yeah. There was something about the skeet surfing, which was like, what a perfectly absurd combination of things. And then it escalates in just the right way, where it's like, the obvious joke is, oh, someone's going to get hurt. And then they start showing them like wiping out and firing the guns and they're like, hitting random things.
Yeah, people having to dodge on the beach.
Yeah. And it's just gloriously random, but it serves the plot at the same time.
Yeah.
Whereas I think of the joke like near the end where her boobs light up, and it was just like, I don't know why that's in here, and it doesn't need to be in here. Like you're just throwing random shit in the movie.
I mean, it is kind of great.
It is kind of great.
He steps out of the water after having an underwater bar fight with the bad guy, which was fun.
The underwater bar fight, that was also pretty brilliant, because it was like, again, it was like, okay, I get the gag when he picks up the stool, and then when they start adding characters and make it a Western.
All the gamblers,
like, all right.
They all have to duck beneath the table.
That's brilliant. Yeah.
Bartender hits him over the head with a bottle.
Yeah.
But he steps up out of the water, and it's just like her boobs go like, and then the scene ends. Like, that's it.
And that felt like they just couldn't think of something. And one of them was like, I don't know, let her boobs light up. And then their boobs light up. But again, there's so many there's so many gags.
The
parachuting when it pans to the fireplace, that got me.
Yeah. Or like when it's a callback to another scene.
Yeah, where they pan to the fireplace and then they pan to another fireplace.
Second fireplace.
Because That's what
It's what you do. Yeah, you kind of yeah. Or
that's where but
like
that's also where the
I was just gonna say when it begins and he just crushes the guitar between them.
God, it's so good.
Yeah.
There's so many moments where they know how to spoof filmmaking, like how movies are made. And I think those are when it benefits. But then again, like the boobs lighting up, the random shit. Sometimes it's just like, I don't need this. But then at the same time, when they cut away to that Hitler clock, I'm like, all right, that did it. That did it for me. The crazy Hitler clock.
The stupid Hitler clock.
I haven't mentioned my favorite fucking gag in this whole thing.
Exercise book. Yeah, what was it?
Yeah. Can you guess? It's, again, very small gag, but done in a way that takes advantage of how movies are made.
Was it the soldiers just driving in a circle?
No, that was solid.
Because that was like, I laughed at the gag, and I was watching with Marina, who hadn't seen it before. And I hadn't seen this movie in a long time, so I didn't remember the gag. But so, I laughed at the joke, and then I was like, like partway through laughing at it, I was like, oh, they're just showing us how you make movies.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's like, oh, this saves us a bunch of money on like extras and trucks. We just have the same three driving in a circle to make it look like they're spilling out of a building.
The gag, it was a visual gag and audio gag, but just the way it's shot, it's the fucking horse carriage.
The horse.
So the way the bit works, it's very simple. They're going somewhere, and it's a fucking horse-drawn carriage, and it's a long shot of it, and you could just hear the driver singing, and he's singing like opera.
Yeah, he's just singing something in German.
And then it just cuts to the close-up, and it's the horse singing. And it's just a fucking singing horse, and the horse is like this rubber-ass puppet.
Yeah, it just looks like a Muppet.
Yeah. And it was just like, all right, that I lost my shit there because that's fucking amazing. Because all it is it's just establishing shot. All Zucker jokes are expectations and then here's the real thing. It's guy falling off the side of the castle and then he shatters.
Shattering like a porcelain vase.
Yeah. Looking down and seeing the mouse which by the way, that's the city set. Mm-hmm. I looked this up. It's the set from Superman.
Yeah.
It was like the old set from Superman, and they're like, let's use that.
Like the one mouse that sprints in there and crashes into a car, and they put the car crash sound effect in there.
Right.
My favorite gags in this movie are, and they're really the only ones I remember just because there's so many of them and I hadn't watched in a long time, but it's when Chocolate Moose kills everyone in the resistance headquarters, and then it just cuts back to him and some random dude just walks by and high fives him and says, "My man." And the cow with boots.
Yeah.
The cow with
very
boots.
few of the I would say this is something that it also to me is a sign of a weaker Zucker film. Mm-hmm. Most of the jokes we're describing are visual. There are very few verbal jokes that really got me. I think the German national anthem got me. Mm-hmm. Because that was straight out of like Borat.
Yeah.
Where their anthem is just about how there's no hope.
Yeah.
I didn't mind the New York Post reference.
Oh, Klaus is a moron. Believes only what he reads in the New York Post.
Yeah, that was solid.
Yeah.
Man, I think that might be it. They're like, there's no "Don't Call Me Shirley" type things.
I mean, there's a couple.
No Goodyear, no, the worst. Although, is that Hot Shots, the Goodyear one?
I think
that might not even be Zucker.
I think that's Hot Shots, yeah.
No. Sorry. I'm remembering the scene. No, that is not Hot Shots. That is The Naked Gun. It's the boy meets girl, like same old story. And then she goes, "Goodyear?" He goes, "No, the worst."
Yeah.
With the blimp accident. But like, there's less of that in this, I would say.
Yeah, there's a couple, but like when she hands him the photograph of her dad and he's water
that's
skiing.
That's a visual gag again, though.
Well, yeah, but like when she asks, when he says, "I saw him in Flugendorf prison," and she's like, how does he look? And he's looking at the photograph and says, "He looks fine."
Oh, yeah. That's solid.
And I know a little German. He's standing right over there.
Oh, that was the one I was going to highlight because They could have easily done like, oh, it's a little person joke, but it's a little old man. It's just like an old guy, and I thought that worked out really well.
Yeah.
Okay, so I've been saving up one last kind of big thing, and I don't know if I'm right or wrong here.
Okay.
I don't think Val Kilmer worked for this. Do you? And I guess I should explain why. Mm-hmm. He's very physical, and that's great.
Yeah, most of the movie just requires him to sing and dance. He does a lot of dancing in this.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's the other thing. There's too much music in this.
There's a lot of music. Yeah.
They do these like entire fucking dance sequences with very little jokes, and again, that feels very like Seth MacFarlane would go on to do that, you know?
Right. Like yeah, we keep saying it. There's just too many different ideas going here. So it feels like they wanted to make a movie spoofing like the Beatles and Elvis, but also wanted to make a spy movie. And it's like, well, we just mash those together. Doesn't really work. And I get like reading behind the scenes, they're like, we really had trouble figuring this out. And it's like, yeah, that's because you're not supposed to make that. That doesn't work. And that, I think, you know, like that's part of it. Also the songs, which are sung by Val Kilmer. Yes.
They're not songs that they wrote. It's like Tutti Frutti and shit. So it's like these long musical.
They're a couple of them are real songs that they rewrote the words to.
Yeah. So I don't know. The musical stuff felt like it was stretching a lot of the time. But what I was gonna get to is Val Kilmer has the energy for Zucker, but he's almost like, and maybe this is about performance, but he's too smirky. Like he's too much of a chuckle fuck. Does that make sense? Like when you go and you look at some of the best movies of this genres, including Hot Shots, Charlie Sheen, playing it real straight faced.
Yeah.
And he kind of does the opposite in this. He does a lot of winking at the camera.
Yes.
And I think that is, whether or not they told him to do it or it was his choice, I don't know.
Oh, I'm sure this is his first movie.
Yeah, he probably
is. They probably told him to do that.
Yeah. But it doesn't, I don't think it works.
Not his first movie, but like it's his first starring role, I'm pretty sure.
Right.
Yeah, I can see that. It's a different kind of character where he's not 100% in on the joke. It's just he's aware of how cool he is in this universe.
Right. Yeah, I know what you mean. There's but it ultimately, I don't know, and maybe it was because I kept thinking about the spy genre. And I get it's less about Val Kilmer, I guess, and more about what his character is supposed to be, because like we said, they're merging Elvis and like those that musical, like the Beatles. So he's supposed to be like young, hip, cool guy with spy film. In spy film, it's like, how fucking great would it be to see this as a Leslie Nielsen spy spoof film? Like that's what kept kind of running through my head, which was like, get rid of the fact that he's a teen heartthrob, just make it a spy spoof.
Yeah, I guess they just hadn't quite figured that out yet, because what's his name in Airplane is also like cool, you know, kind of like they're doing the gag where he's like he can't really fly since the tragedy, but like, but he's still deadly serious.
He is
throughout. Yes, yeah, and this character is like, again, kind of in on the joke. And then with The Naked Gun, they have Frank Drebin, who is deadly serious but is a buffoon.
Yeah, and I realized that it's another sign of with the exception of one movie, which may or may not be considered great, I would say most of the best Zucker movies include actors who are playing it extremely straight. The exception being Basketball. But Basketball is kind of not a Zucker film. It absolutely is, but it's also inhabited by Trey Parker and Matt Stone. Mm-hmm. So they bring their own. Like was a hell of a marriage.
Yeah, it's really fucking funny. That movie.
It really works. I mean, yeah. I haven't seen it in a moment, but.
Right, yeah, it's 1998. I'm sure there's some jokes in there that are
for sure. But it has the Zucker. It has the combination. It's just the fact that Trey Parker, Matt Stone's comedic sensibilities and Zucker's sensibilities actually like complemented each other. Because I think they weren't doing the same thing, but they were both, they understood the absurd. Like they met where absurdity met. Whereas like if you combined them with, I don't know, with Seth, if like Seth MacFarlane was in a Zucker film, I feel like it wouldn't quite work. Or say Leslie Nielsen in a Mel Brooks movie. That certainly didn't work.
That didn't work. There's people out there that will defend Dracula Dead and loving it.
Man, I haven't seen it in a minute, so maybe I love that movie and I don't know it.
Man, I remember really hating it except for the staking scene.
Is that just like tons of blood?
Yeah, it's each blow. It's like showering Steven Weber in blood. And
right.
Mel Brooks is like, I think she's almost dead. It's a pretty classic gag. So
yeah, I would say Mel Brooks movies, very different people. Mel Brooks movies do the opposite. They don't tend to have a completely straight man.
Not usually.
In fact, like they're usually pretty funny.
Yes, but they're more like kind of Bugs Bunny characters where they're funny, but they're also aware of the universe that they're in,
of the absurdities, and take advantage of it.
Yes.
Which I would say
Val Kilmer's almost that in this movie.
Yeah, Val Kilmer almost feels like he'd be better suited in a Mel Brooks movie for that reason.
Yeah, it's a different. It's just a different comedic style, and I guess the Zuckers were just kind of trying something with this.
I don't know. Now I'm kind of curious about this because, I grew up on Zucker and Mel Brooks, and they do seem very similar, but there is something different about what they do.
Yes.
And one of the key things is the fact that there's a certain amount of charm, like coolness, in the characters in Mel Brooks, where it's like I kind of like I want to hang out with them coolness.
Mm-hmm.
Both of the main characters in Blazing Saddles, and Spaceball. Yeah, they're all Bugs Bunny. They all have that Bugs Bunny sensibility, don't they?
A lot of them,
but
yeah.
And I think it's maybe because Mel Brooks is more focused, plot-wise and gag-wise, where he knows exactly when to insert certain jokes.
Yeah, Mel Brooks leans more towards satire.
Yeah,
he's usually definitely in a lot of his earlier films, he's making fun of something very specific.
There's a spoof element for
for sure, but he's also talking about like an issue in some of the movies.
Yeah, I definitely think he's way more focused in terms of what he's doing a parody of and what he wants to say with the film.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas the Zuckers are a little more absurd.
Although I will say real quick that Mel Brooks has a famous quote where he said, "Wit is shit, funny is money."
Perfect.
Sometimes you just go for the stupid joke.
Go for the absurdities.
Yeah.
Like they both do that for sure.
Sometimes you just have the Jawas say dink dink.
Yeah.
Because it's stupid.
Yeah. I'm just plain yogurt. Like, fuck it. The lend me your ears gag. It's like, fuck it.
Yeah, fuck it.
Who gives a shit? Yeah. What are we doing? Yeah. But also, I noticed there's a character in Top Secret named Latrine.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Reminded me of Men in Tights.
Yep.
But yeah, I guess Zucker is. I want to say he has less to say. I feel like. I believe, and I don't want to. I don't mean this in a negative way necessarily, but I believe he's more right-leaning politically.
One of them is. I can't remember which one.
Okay. Yeah. And they do feel more like they're just doing absurdities.
Yeah.
For the sake of being absurd. I would say their humor tends to be more problematic in the long run. I think history is less kind.
I think maybe, yeah, because mostly what they're concerned with is making fun of movies and movie making and pop culture.
Yeah,
and
I
doesn't
think that's
necessarily have like the you'll find more incisive satire in some Mel Brooks movies.
Yeah, some,
yeah, definitely not all, but some. But I think across the board for the Zuckers, it's just we are just making fun of the idea of making movies and how silly this all is. And
right. Going back to Val Kilmer in this, would you say, do you get what I'm saying where it doesn't feel like he works quite as well?
No, just because I've been watching this movie for so long and I've associated him with this movie for so long.
Okay.
And he is very good at what it is they wanted him to be.
Yeah, for sure.
It's just, does that character work in this setting is the question, and not really. He is a very odd creation for this film. It's like, why? Okay, so he's a secret agent that's also singing Elvis songs and Beach Boy songs.
It's really unfocused
with a bunch of Bobby Darrens backing him up. Like,
yeah,
it's
almost
that
sketch
seems great,
comedy.
but yeah.
And so, like, again, there's some gags in this, which are some of my favorite Zucker gags. But as a Zucker movie, it might be my least favorite.
I mean, there's some bad ones.
There's some bad ones.
Well,
what other ones have they done? What am I not thinking?
Yeah, of? I'm getting them. I'm conflating them with Pat Proft movies. Pat Proft wrote a couple of screenplays for them, I think, but then went off and like directed shit like Spy Hard and Wrongfully Accused, like a lot of Leslie Nielsen's '90s stuff, which is very bad.
Yeah, they're still making movies. Apparently, I'm looking at. I mean, they have a movie announced David Zucker as a writer called Spaghetti versus Noodle. I'm afraid to click on it.
Sure.
All right. The description is a comedy about Italians fighting with Chinese over who invented spaghetti. That's their exact wording.
You probably shouldn't make that movie, David Zucker.
Yeah, that sounds exhausting.
I can't imagine. That's I'm just drowning in all of the racial stereotypes I can see already in my mind.
How much do you want to bet there'll be no Italian or Chinese actors? It'll just be white guys.
I hope so.
It'll just be Scarlett Johansson.
Yep.
And all the roles.
Yep.
Yeah, my God. Oh, man. But that's just writing, I guess. I'm not even going to look up who directed it. But yeah, the last thing he did was Scary Movie 5, which, yeah, I bet the later Scary Movies, if I went back and watched those, I'd be like, Top Secret is better. And I get that this is a movie that a lot of people probably have the same like nostalgia that you have that I don't have.
Mm-hmm.
And for good reason. You know, I get it. There's a lot of good gags in this. It's just, man, what an unfocused film.
It's all over the place. Yeah, it's too many. It's just you're chasing too many joke threads.
Yeah. Also, I need to. Sorry.
Oh, that's it.
Oh yeah. I need to amend what I said. Is this isn't between Airplane and The Naked Gun, because they also made Ruthless People, a movie I just remembered existed.
Oh fuck! I thought. Isn't that the one where it's Bette Midler, Danny DeVito, and kidnappers kidnap her, and he's like, he doesn't care, he doesn't want to pay to get her back.
You forget Judge Reinhold.
I thought Danny DeVito directed that movie. Man,
directed by it's wow, it's all three of them. It's the Zuckers and the Abrahams.
Damn.
Yeah, and that, from what I remember, it is an actual movie.
That
right?
that is an actual like narrative comedy.
Maybe that was just them being like, so we can do this. Yeah, they didn't write it.
Well, I mean, you remember, I'm pretty like Jerry. I think it's Jerry Zucker. One of those motherfuckers directed Ghost.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. They're all over the fucking place sometimes.
Yeah. Like,
but David Zucker is almost all of it. Oh, he also did My Boss's Daughter. That's a bummer. That's a real bummer.
Ashton Kutcher and Terrence Stamp, I think.
Tara Reid and Andy Richter.
Tara Reid, that's who it was. I couldn't remember who the female lead was.
That's a nightmare right there.
Yeah, I'll tell you. Let me lead you through my thought process. I was trying to remember who the actress was in my boss's daughter, and I kept clicking on. I think it's Brittany Murphy because I'm pretty sure the lead actress is dead. And then you said it's Tara Reid. It's like, oh, okay, I know why I thought that.
Right. Yeah. No, that's just Michael Madsen's in this movie.
Sure. Why not?
Can you imagine? All right, just guess what the cover looks like. What the poster?
I know exactly what the cover looks like.
Well, tell me.
It's Ashton Kutcher standing there giving side eye to Terrence Stamp while Tara Reid is behind him adjusting his tie.
Okay, so you've seen it.
I know what this cover looks like. Yeah.
Yeah. It's the all white background with the thick, colorful letters.
Yes, it's flagged in my memory forever for two reasons. One, it's just like a shining example of that era of movie art.
Somewhere in the studio, there's like a basement computer, like fucking Zola, that's just like crying, and they just pump in information, and it shits out one of these posters. Mm-hmm. It's like sentient and just wants to die.
Yeah. There's coded messages in all of these. Yeah. The second reason I have it memorized is that it's a terrible Photoshop.
Yeah, for sure.
It's very bad. Like, this would have been in one of those bad Photoshop articles, I think, that we used to do.
Oh, yeah. Final tangent. Remember High School High?
Yes.
Do you think that's any good, or is that really racist now?
It's probably racist as fuck, but I don't know.
I don't know. It's David Zucker wrote it. It's not directed.
No, yeah. John Lovitz and Tia Carrera, I think. That's all I remember.
Yeah. It's okay. Hold on. I'm sorry, folks. I'm so sorry. The director is the guy who played Elias in Die Hard.
Ellis.
God damn it. I'm reading it from very far away.
Hart Bachner is the director.
Yeah.
He was Bachner directed High School High. Yeah, he's 100% in Mask of the Phantasm. Yeah.
What's happening here?
He's also in Urban Legends Final Cut.
Did we die?
Don't make me tell you Hart Bachner's filmography.
Hart Bachner. Okay. No, this keeps going, Tom, because now that I look at what he's directed, it makes perfect sense that he made High School High. You know why? Because he directed PCU, Tom.
I did not know that.
Yeah. He's the director of PCU.
Fucking Hart Bachner. All right.
Jeremy Pivens, PCU.
Jon Favreau.
I don't know what to believe anymore.
There's an incredible moment in PCU where Jon Favreau spikes the camera. It's right when he's about to get on the bus, the George Clinton bus. He just looks right into the camera.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, you're Jon Favreau.
He says, I'm going to make Disney millions.
I am going to become the Iron Man.
Yeah. Do we have anything else to say?
No, we're talking about other movies now, so.
Yeah, I mean, this movie, it's always hard talking about.
It's hard talking about comedy because comedies in general, because it ends up being what we wound up doing for 20 minutes of this episode, which is just talking about all the jokes that we liked.
Yeah, I can't stress enough. Excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
One of my favorite things about Zucker comedies and Mel Brooks comedies, but mainly Zucker, is seeing actors who are too good to be in the movie.
Oh yeah,
and so seeing Omar Sharif with like a windshield wiper on his face and a lady's boob in his face, getting squirted. Mm-hmm. And he's like old ass Omar Sharif too.
Yeah.
It just brought so much warmth to my heart.
It's part of the formula of these movies. Like that, Leslie Nielsen was that in Airplane.
Yeah. And then he was just like, I'm going to make a career of this. Like, imagine if Omar Sharif did the same thing.
Omar Sharif had done it. Yeah. But
Peter Graves in Airplane, of course, but he's also done, I think, other funny things.
He's done other comedies, yeah, and Robert Stack has too. But Robert Stack was also occupying the Leslie Nielsen position of being. We are incredibly serious, dramatic actors that are doing this goofiness.
Right.
Broken Lizard kind of does it. Like they got Brian Cox in Super Troopers. They got
Brian Cox killing it in Super Troopers.
Bill Paxton, although Bill Paxton did a lot of comedy, but and they've gotten some pretty.
They've gotten a few. It's kind of a tradition.
Michael Clark Duncan.
Michael Clark Duncan, who it turns out was meant for comedy. He was fucking brilliant in Slammin' Salmon.
Yeah, and in Talladega Nights.
Oh, yeah. No, it's a tradition, I think, of zany comedies, right?
Yeah, you get a
Adam
big
Sandler
respected actor,
did it all the time, too. I think it just works really well in the Zucker ones because you get to see some really stupid shit. Mm-hmm. Airplane 2, of course, had William Shatner, which feels less special now because Shatner is kind of just, he'll be in anything. At the time, I think it was probably a bigger deal. I don't know. Mel Brooks, I don't know. Mel Brooks just has good actors in his movies.
Most of them are comedic actors.
Most of them are.
Like you think about like the cast of Blazing Saddles or Young Frankenstein. Those are all comedic actors.
Yeah.
For the most part.
Bill Pullman is the weirdest fucking casting choice.
He really is. Bill Pullman's a weird casting choice in anything he's in.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. But it's like, it was kind of early Bill Pullman. It's like when Jack Black was showing up as Marauders.
Yeah.
And like we didn't quite know what he was yet.
Yeah, holding a gun to Stallone's head in Demolition Man.
It's like,
hey, you got Jack Black for that, huh?
Yeah. Fucking weird. Wasn't there other... it doesn't matter. No, we're doing it again.
Yeah, we're doing it again. That is fascinating that Jack Black had a brief career playing heavies.
Yeah. Why would that ever be the case?
Probably because he's kind of big. He's not tall, but he's
He's still, like, even his comedic sensibilities, he feels, like, unhinged.
Yeah, that's true, yeah.
He's got real cable guy vibes to him.
He's a straight character in Cable Guy, but yeah.
I know, but I just mean that. First of all, I forgot he was in Cable Guy.
Yeah, he's Ben Stiller's friend.
Yeah. Who gets fucking beaten up to "Hey Man, nice shot" for the second time in his career.
Yeah.
That like people realized it quickly about Jim Carrey too, which was like, this guy's kind of fucking dark.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think Jack Black has a little of that, and in fact could probably do a scarier. I don't know. He could go somewhere with that. That kid's got potential,
Yeah. Now that he's in his 50s and very well settled into his career.
Yeah, he's going places. Fuck me. Should we say thank you to Matt Osborne?
Yeah.
Thanks to Matt Osborne for telling us to watch Top Secret. And then we did, and I hadn't seen it, so
I'm surprised you hadn't seen it. Yeah, it was really. Yeah, I was not
like
expecting
Loaded Weapon. Remember when we did Loaded Weapon? It's the same where it was like they've always been. I don't think I even knew for the longest time that it was a Zucker film. Top Secret, I mean, where it was just like it was always kind of on the back burner. And then you get old and you're like, when am I going to sit down and watch Top Secret?
Yeah. You get in your 50s, you're settled into your career. Like, I'm not just going to throw on Top Secret.
Exactly. So thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Matt Osborne. They did this through our Patreon, specifically patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. We have a tier where you can produce episodes of We Just Watched and make us watch whatever you want for $5 a month. We have 2 podcasts a week. Those podcasts are Tom and Jeff Watch Batman and Fox Mulder is a Maniac. We also watch movies every Friday night with our patrons. Lots going on.
That is accurate. We also have a store at tpublic.com/store/gamefullyunemployed where you can get t-shirts, masks, mugs, stickers, posters, all kinds of things. So check that out.
Check it out.
Check it out.
Yeah. And if you're Jack Black, call us.
Yeah,
we got some thoughts about your career, man.
Yeah,
we can finally get this going.
We got some pitches for you.
Mm-hmm.
If you ever get tired of the comedy game.
Yeah. Did you ever think about doing movies?